Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Esports Integrated Conference 2021. And today with me, I have Kevin Wong Eugene, the CEO of Wulf Esports, Mr. Hazman Hassan, the CEO of KITAMEN, and Mr. Quak Xuan, the digital marketing lead for Wales Esports. In today's topic, we will be diving into how to navigate your brand's first year in esports, working with gaming tech brands. Before we kickstart our panel today, let's have a very brief introduction. Mr. Kevin, if you don't mind, please share with us a bit about yourself and about Wolf Esports.
Hi, thank you so much for the intro. Hi, all. My name is Kevin Wong. I'm the CEO of Wulf Esports. Wulf Esports is a esports management company, and we are involved with all the pillars within esports. So ideally, we are a advertising and management company that helps brands to get engaged and involved within esports, and focusing on multiple pillars such as talent management, team development, events management, and also running campaigns from the core all the way to the end. We also have our own line of apparel, which is called Gang Asia, that is focused and situated within the esports space. But ideally, we are a one-stop solutions provider for every brand or any programs that want to get involved within the space of esports. That's the straight up rough breakdown of who we are as Wolf Esports.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kevin Wong Eugene from CEO of Wolf Esports. So moving on, let's go to Mr. Quak Xuan. Mr. Quak, same goes to you. Can we have a bit of a backstory on who you are and as well as Wolf Esports?
Yeah, sure. I'm Quak Xuan, or people call me Ziba for Desmond. So basically, Wales Esports is a company which established last year itself. We cover most of the stuff that relates to talents. Let's say you want to shoot creative videos or anything that talents wants to do, or you want to hang out with even talents in an online event or anything. We have that spot. We also have our own app itself. It's called Wales Buddy. You can actually search in Google Play Store and Huawei Gallery, except for iOS, but that will be coming soon. Basically, what we, as a business, our core business is to bring out anything that involves in esports. You want event management, you want just a press conference, you want anything that you feel like doing for esports. It doesn't matter what the platform is, mobile, PC, or anything. We are the spot that you can go to. And also, if you want to find influencers that is more different than other companies, which involves in big celebrities and all those other industry people and playmakers, we are also in contact with them, and we know how to work with them well as well.
There you go, Mr. Quak from Wales Esports. So unfortunately for those iOS users out there, you guys will have to wait for the app to be available on iOS. So moving on, of course, we have the CEO and founder of KITAMEN, Mr. Hazman Hassan. Please, Mr. Hazman, introduce yourself a bit and as well as KITAMEN.
Hi, thank you very much for the introduction. Hi, my name is Muhammad Hazman bin Hassan, so I'm basically the CEO of KITAMEN. And yeah, I think just a quick introduction of KITAMEN. What KITAMEN stands for is basically KITAMEN, the passion was born out of, love of playing video games, and it's all about, be together to, have fun together, especially in video games. Yeah, it's a Malaysia-based boutique gaming organization, built at the intersection of competitive gaming, entertainment, and also retail. We started out as a little game space, where we provide place for people to go and play consoles game, but we have expanded that into multiple verticals, such as today we are doing events, we also going into techs, and but the bread and butter still today is always about giving clients the meaning of having fun, which is through video games and also esports. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, our panel today, Mr. Kevin, Mr. Hazman, as well as Mr. Quak. So guys, to kickstart our discussion today, every brand out there has a backstory. We all know that Apple started out like in a basement, Google as well. So there's always this fun stories that you hear about all these big brands. So to kickstart, let's go to Mr. Kevin. Let's go back to the very beginning for Wolf Esports. How did it all started for you guys?
All right. I guess if you say the journey of like Wulf Esports from where we began from, we actually started back in 2017, right? So back in 2017, the space of esports in Malaysia was starting to boom, but it was not really stable yet. But back then, when we wanted to enter to the esports industry, there was still a little bit of a restriction whereby there isn't a really established systems in place for like professional teams. There was not really a full-on ecosystem. With that, we wanted to enter the industry with a very diplomatic manner. For that, we derive a product or a brand which is called Gang Asia, which is our apparel brand. So our entrance point was to develop this apparel brand, whereby we found there was a missing link in the so-called esports ecosystem back then. So back then, 2017, there was not much, rather there was no company that was just focused in building a apparel brand that's focused on within the video game and esports world. With that, we saw an opportunity and we took it, and hence we developed our brand Gang. So with Gang, it was our stepping stone or our penetration into the esports in Malaysia. Now, coming in with a neutral brand whereby we are bringing value to all esports team or all esports related businesses back then, we were deemed to be a decent partner rather than a competitor. So that actually was the start of our story entering to the esports space in Malaysia. Everything else, it was, like how we see it from our apparel brand, we started to scale on to the event sector, to team management, and the rest is history.
Awesome. There you have it, the backstory of Wulf Esport. But just a quick question here. So you mentioned that the thing that you guys are striving for is to be more of a partner rather than a competitor. However,
Correct.
seeming that you guys also do have your own esports teams,
Correct.
is there a challenge on actually partnering up with other teams? Are they worried that you guys might be, sneaking into the little detail strategies to benefit your own
Um,
esports team?
Well, I think that's the perception that we were trying to break from the start, right? When we wanted to penetrate esports industry in Malaysia back then, we felt that this was a stigma that was going through people's mind, that people were worried to be working together. So when we took on that approach, a big portion of it is also the same ideology and the business prospect of our company, whereby we believe in collaborating and working with everybody. I'm a strong believer whereby the pie is big enough where everybody can actually be a part of it. And rather than trying to break apart a pie, let's try to grow the pie together. So I guess that's the fundamental core of our company and the back end of us. So with that, like you mentioned, we were actually trying to break the stigma. So honestly, uh, at start, there's definitely that little bit of stigma. People were worried. Hence, that's why our game story of having a neutral brand to go in and collaborate. In the end, right now, I would dare say that we are one of the few companies in the market that is happy to collaborate with anybody out there. Like we have no restriction working with anyone.
There you have it. You heard it here first, folks. Wulf Esports, they are happy to collaborate. They are pushing, striving towards going for a neutral position in the esports scene. So moving forward, let's go with Mr. Quak. Same goes to you. Do share a bit of backstory on Wales Esports.
So Real Esports actually started within a bro gang. So all my bosses just grow up. They like, because there are people actually developed in China. So a lot of this influence that comes from Honor of Kings and also PUBG Mobile, especially in China, it's very big. So they were like, oh hey, let's see, wow, there's Dota, there's League of Legends, there's Wangzhe, and there's also this PUBG Mobile thing going on. So for the past few years, they actually, before starting this company, they just sit down and say, hey, let's do some research, right? What's the niche that Malaysia hasn't hit? And what's the market that the Malaysian or the Southeast Asian has not reached yet? So after we research and have a thorough look at the environment in Malaysia and Southeast Asia, we actually noticed that there's a lot of things that people want. One of the things that we notice is delivered through our app, which is our Real Body app. That is one of the perspectives that we found out. Basically, when you want to find a person to play with, and the person somewhat willing to pay with, but with a motivation. So that is where you can find things like pro guides in the Americas, or you can find things like there's another brand called ePulse and stuff like that. So this is one of the things that we've noticed. Another perspective that we found out that esports itself has not delivered in the Asia region, or I should say Southeast Asia in specific. It's the collaboration between celebrities towards all these esports brandings. Our side, we are actually quite strong with two of our members in the board, which is Star itself. It's Zach and Adrian. They are all stars that's currently a project in movies and programs as well. They are two things that there are two persons that we actually focus very hard on, because on our perspective, we know that this is a market where the marketing side and also the branding side will need. So this is where the marketing budget goes to, and we know that people tend to find this kind of outlet, but they couldn't know how and how ideologically to go through all these sequences. We are here also to provide all these kind of things to help them and help these brands to go in. So during this research time, about 2 years before Wulf Esports started, Wulf Esports actually was just a normal event company that travels around Southeast Asia to make events happen. So after that, we move back to Malaysia, then start this company. We start with Wheels Buddy app. Now we're entering towards tournament and production. We have a few TV programs that's actually running on the back, and we have them probably out very soon. But just to say, we are a company where we want talented people to join us with or without experience, just to know and expand the career chances, or more like expand everyone's interest, especially the old kind of memories, or all these kind of worst memories in esports, or just to wash out all those traditional thinking of just playing video games have no benefits in Malaysia, especially.
There you have it. The aim of Wulf Esport, trying to prove to the world that there is a future in video games. So, just now you mentioned a bit about Wulf Buddy. I'm actually intrigued about that app. I believe it's an app, correct?
Yeah. So,
All right. So, yeah, please go on. Please share a bit about the app.
okay, so Wulf Buddy is an app where you can find your favorite, I would say, celebrities, favorite stars, or favorite streamers. Currently, we are very saturated in the Chinese market, but sooner or later, when our tournament kickstart, we plan to hire more and more variety of streamers that you can see in the Southeast Asian market. For now, we partner up with a few. In Chinese, we call it Gonghui. In English, we call it guilds or probably agencies to have their talents come into our platform. So a few of the noticeable are two of our stars inside, and a whole bunch of people, about 300 or more talents, or we call them Wulf Buddy. Basically, why we wanted to use the term Wulf Buddy is like we want the players to actually come to our platform and enjoy the game as a friend itself. Although there is a sequence, there's a payment when you want to hire this person to play with you, but we want to ensure that the experience you're going through are friendly and also professional throughout the whole and entire course of the playtime.
So basically, bringing a whole new idea, meaning to friends with benefits. You get paid for being friends.
I mean, it's not entirely wrong, but you can say like, if you want to know that person, you can have a head start just to pay them a little bit. Something like Facebook gaming, but it's not, right? Facebook gaming requires you to subscribe and you get more benefits. Here it's more like you pay a few ringgits, you get to play with this particular player that you always like to, and have that experience. We try to think a way where this service can actually motivate the next generation of esports talents as well.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Quak. That's a very insightful look into Wulf Buddy program, the app. So, Mr. Hazman, we've already heard from Mr. Kevin, Wulf Esports, who are striving to be a partner, a neutral partner for esports scene, and also from Wulf Esport, where they are going for this app. They are pushing out this app, and also a few other stuff like the TV shows and all that. What about KITAMEN? Can you share a bit backstory, the background behind the rise of the KITAMEN empire?
Right. I think it all goes back way to 2015. I think I can relate this story back to how Twitter not Twitter, was it Uber? Somebody tweeted. No, I think it was on the Facebook group. Someone mentioned in the Facebook group that, hey, I want to do something related to video games, right? All I did was I just saw that post and just replied to it, and then we just set up a meeting somewhere in Star Park, if I'm not mistaken, around Kuala Lumpur. And yeah, so the rest is, I guess, it's just we shared a few ideas about, because the idea was basically to to set up a gaming lounge for console gamers. That's how we started anyway. And I think we just had our time like 1 or 2 days, and the third day we start looking for, basically we started with no money. We just we just broke our piggy bank, and hey, this is all we have. So why don't we just start it without thinking too much. So what we did was, if you hit Google, started in the basement or in the garage. So what we did was we rented out, I think it was a studio apartment on the 15th floor at Zeta Park. I think it's in Star Park. I think it's called something else today. And yes, so what we did was just rent it out for few ringgit per month. We just said let's just do this, and yeah, so that's where KITAMEN started. So we started as a gaming launch, but luckily, if only Wills was here, even Gang was here, then I think the scene should have come out differently. As mentioned by Kevin, esports back then was so different, right? People were still on on PCs, Dota, League of Legends, and we ourselves as consoles still only focus on FIFA and Pro Evolution Soccer. So I think, remember, during those days, I think right after a month that we launched KITAMEN, I think ESM was launched, I think at the Felda, I think it was the Dewan Perdana Felda, like, if I'm not mistaken. So I went there, meet some, few parties and say, hey, why not we try to do something together, right? And yeah, so in the end, we met a guy from the FIFA scene. Then we started to become involved in esports. So after that, we saw that this big opportunity in esports. But if it started maybe 20 15 years ago, it could not be as it is today. But since as the scene evolved, from, so we went from console, mobile, from console to PC, and all the way until mobile. It was all about connecting with brands, meet new people, find new knowledge. And yeah, even today, like, it's about, I've never met Kevin, even Quak, ever met him, but today's, I think this bugs to, like Kevin said, maybe today is a born of something new, right? Yeah, so that's the backstory of KITAMEN. But what we are trying to strive for today is that, is about, what, since the pandemic happened, right? It's all about educating new clients or new brands, how you can actually get into esports. It's not just about reaching out to the community or the market, but it's all about how you can enrich your brand and be attached to the wonderful people of gamers, which I guess according to data that we have, I don't know whether it's right or not, but it's almost like 16 to 18 million people that are playing games. And I think it would be a waste if we don't convert all this addiction, we call it, into a huge prediction of opportunity. Yeah. Well, I guess that's our story, and looking to
Thank you, Mr. Hazman.
yeah.
So, what I understand earlier, right? For KITAMEN, the starting of the company, it was more of in the moment kind of thing. You guys decided it's a good opportunity, and you guys grabbed it, just like just break the piggy bank,
Yeah.
and there it is. KITAMEN was born.
Yeah.
So I have to direct this question to Kevin and Kwa as well. So let's start with Kevin. Is it the same for Wulf Esports, or was it like a really calculated approach?
Um, I would say half and half, right? When we started, a big portion of our plan was to obviously get involved in esports, develop a team, do what we wanted to do. But I guess the other big portion of why I say luck, and we grabbed it, the opportunity when it came, was that a lot of things was definitely not possible without the splash of luck. And when I mean splash of luck, it revolves around the timing, it revolves around the whole boom of mobile esports, a lot of factors, right? And with that, I would say that, like, our plan, as calculative as it was not how we planned to be where we are right now, but rather it was more of like the opportunity arise, and we saw it, and we took the opportunity. And when we took the opportunity, it's about how to change that little cost and make it work the way we want it to be. So in the end, I guess, like I said, I guess it's a 50-50 thing lah, of how we are where we are today.
And Mr. Cole, what's your take on this? Is for Wales Esport especially, is it more of a calculated approach, or was it again another splash of luck for Wales Esport as well?
I think it was pretty calculated. I wouldn't give it 100%, right? Because before I joined the company actually was very fresh company without actual esports experience in Malaysia. So I came in as their head of marketing, so-called, and also their marketing specialist as well. So before entering, the whole company was a bit of a wiggle waggle because they don't know what's their main focus is other than the Wales Buddy app, other than what they have been doing, I would say so. Because the company itself, they know how to do events, they know how to do programs, they know how to interact with celebrities and all this kind of stuff. So I came in, I put in the spices that they need in esports, just sprinkle some salt inside and then tell them, hey, this is the direction, what they want to do, how they want to bloom inside this. But technically, we can't really say that we are very successful right now. We can't really tell you that, hey, Wales Esports is doing pretty well, but we are trying to get there as we just established not even a full year yet. So we are giving ourselves the time and trying to push out our brands to the big boys side of the circle, like KITAMEN and Wulf Esports and other brands like ESL. They're the big boys circle, We are still outside the circle waiting to jump in anytime that we can. That's why we are not that worried that esports, there's so much esports organization that you can have, like YouTube, you can have a lot more, right? Team Sports School and all this kind of stuff. We want to be that particular person or particular company that let everyone be involved in esports, not only the esports players. I want the industry players to come in to Wales Esports and try to join the industry itself, because that has been the gap that we found. Everyone wants to join, but they don't know how. So I'm pretty sure that in a year or two, we can find more partners that are outside the industry, outside the esports industry, to be one of the biggest organizations in the Southeast Asian market. We are pretty confident in that, with the start of like Team Wales in PMPL, with the start of a few tournaments coming in, and several esports related or video game related TV programs itself.
And hey, you never know. After this session, you might have found 2 more additional partners here with us today for Wales Esport, especially since we know that for Wulf, they're going for the neutral approach, and as well for KITAMEN offering solutions. So you never know. So for the next question, let's talk about the challenges that you guys would usually face during your year 1. So for let's start off with Mr. Quak, because I believe just now you mentioned that Will's is not even a full year yet. Is that correct?
Correct.
So very fresh right now. So you guys have the freshest insight on this. What are some of the challenges, some of the mountains that you guys are currently facing in your year 1?
So I would not say it at the first. I would just say as an esports organization as a whole. So our first challenge is definitely to let people know our brand, right? Wales Esports. Who is Wales Esports? Why would I go to Wales Esports? So you have other brands like ESL, Team Boss School, or Wulf, or any other brands, right? These brands are already in the market for the longest time. ESL started not in Malaysia and has been internationally known. VSPN, China, super huge giant, and also like other few companies like IO Esports as well. So we face the challenge where there are so many organizations out there that sometimes, where last time, a few years back, 1,000, 2,000 ringgit tournaments happening every single week was a big thing. Now it's like a new norm where people actually don't look at those tournaments. So you can have all these community tournaments where people don't actually notice your brand. This is one of the few challenges that we face, right? Other than that, it's more like, how do we get involved in the big boy circle, right? Like I said just now, everyone in the big boy circle is known in Malaysia itself, not saying that the Southeast Asian market. They know about Boss School, they know about Wulf, they know about KITAMEN. But when it comes to a newer brand, let's say if one day a brand, which is us, which is Wales Esports, trying to enter the market and compete with other production houses, let's say like IO Esports or let's say Orange and Dell. Basically, we are at a standpoint where people look at us as very fresh. And if I view the perspective of a production house, we are new and people don't know us. And even when we try to sign a project and do it as well, people will still not know us, because projects usually, this kind of project are only B2B known, and you will be known only to the B2B market. When it comes to B2C market, it is very hard for us to reapproach this market, because when we are trying to do these TV shows and all those, yes, we have our brand, but it needs to see where the target market goes. Like as of now, I can only tell you that our social media reach is only decent. We can reach the Chinese market, but when it comes to a new like to us, Malay market and the English market is quite new. So when entering this, there's a lot of different strategies and different considerations to strategize the steps to go in. That's why like other brands, when they start off English and Malay, it is easier for them to communicate with the with the perspective of a new company. But when you establish yourself as a Chinese company, there is a certain challenge where the where the people will actually look at your back history and your company profile. When your company profile is very crowded, with, I would say Chinese people or Chinese speaking content, uh, in Malaysia, that's a big problem because brands in Malaysia tends to speak two languages, which is English and Malay. We speak Chinese in particular, and esports in Chinese market has, I would say, sadly to say, it's starting to shrunk. Only the B2B is actually blooming with Chinese people and Malay people. So we face this challenge ever since we start. We try to have research, we try to re-strategize a few more things to fit the market, but in the end, we still have to actually put more time into more programs that involves few, I would say, big celebrities into our programs to push out the brand towards the general. If not, I would say our target will not hit it within a year or two. And to hit our target by pushing Will's Body app as a very, very niche market in Malaysia, definitely we have a few hits like Battle of Shinobi, there is carry out a manual BB tournament, and we have our past PUBG tournament as well, as actually boosted up a little bit, but we are still not there yet. We are trying our best to actually let people know this is what is coming. You want to be the next influencer, you want to be the next big shot, you should join us. This is what we are trying to tell the community, and this is why we want Wales Esport in Malaysia, to build out all these people to be industrial expert, or also be a top influencer, so that they can deliver themselves outside of their current circle where they just don't have the head start to go with.
Well, so basically, you're telling us that for you guys right now, one of the main hurdles that you guys are facing is basically the language barrier for your team as well, lah.
I wouldn't say language barrier. It's more like when we started off as in Malaysia, when we started off as Chinese, there's a normal stigma where people be like, "Oh, this is Chinese content. It's not that easier for Malaysians to consume because you need to understand Chinese to actually understand the terms and the and the gaming terms. You know, those are the catch where I would say let's just say you don't play Wangzhe, which is HOK, and then you come into our show and you watch our show, you don't understand a single thing. That becomes a problem. If I would say PUBG, there is a similarity there, but yet again, the terms used in Malay and English is very different to what we can hear from Chinese. You can say, let's say, I would say blue buff. In Chinese, we call it lan. There's no, like, if you say it to Malay, at least biru and blue is a bit same. But when you say lan, it's very different. People don't get the hint of what is that.
Yeah, I'm guessing people will start thinking like you're asking them to check their LAN connection or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
That's the thing.
but surprisingly, Wales Esports in PMPL, you guys do have a lot of exposure towards the Malay market as well. I was personally following up with PMPL very closely, and surprisingly, there were a lot of people, there were a lot of fans that were from the Malaysia market. Especially, I see that a lot of people were cheering on for Luyu. I believe he's one of your players. So yeah, here's hoping that Wales Esport can penetrate further into the Malaysian market, the Malay and English market especially. So with that, let's move on to Mr. Hazman for this round as well. Mr. Hazman, what are some of the challenges? I mean, of course, just now you shared one of the biggest challenges was you guys had a limited budget. As I quote, you guys just basically broke the piggy bank and whatever you have there, that's what you started with. But apart from that, what else did you guys face during your year one, or was budget your main constraint back then?
Yeah, well, I think being with all the founders like Mr. Kevin and Mr. Quak as well, right? I think I guess when you talk about budgets, and I think that when if you look at all these mentors or this high influencer people, right? They'll say forget about money so much. It's all about the ideas. Well, when we started this business, as not usually, right, normally, like we young people going to business, we always think about, oh, we need money lah to make it happen. But if we put that, in our mindset that you need money to make things happen, then you'll be spending your life for the rest of your life looking for money, right? But, well, I guess in business it's all about the journey. Even until today, right? Things can always deviate. Like everybody said, there's no 2020, right? COVID came, the pandemic came. Well, I guess everybody has to like pivot to different kind of thing and looking elsewhere, for survivability, right? And yeah, I think talking about the first year, well, actually, interesting story for the first year. We only managed to sustain for like 6 months. Then we had to close down the place actually. But but what I told my partner during those time, that is, is it doesn't matter, if it's like, you have to make your brand go out there, so the brand is your soul, the space, the physical space, your whatever thing, your retail shop is just your body, your vessel for the soul to be in. So what happened after that? I think after I forgot, I think it was no 8 months. So we had to, during, because we started in an apartment, right, service apartment somewhere, and people who want to come is always about logistical issue problem, where you have to go down, pick them up. It's kind of a first class service, but as time goes by, people start getting fatigues and doing all this kind of thing. And we thought that, why not, since the brand is there already, people know the brand already, is about, we have the soul already. I think if we just focus and pivot into different agendas, it should be fine. But I told my team that it's all about, maybe we're just gonna take a rest for a while, and yeah, focus on the actual business that is actually making money during that time. Well, that was events organizing, and even we also did some equipment rentals. So that's what's the the most, I think, revenue making kind of verticals that we are doing. And yeah, and luckily, the concept of building the feeding the soul was good enough that somebody finally came on our almost our anniversary, that, hey, I saw your stuff, KITAMEN dojo, we call them, right? What if I want to buy the license rights for it? And we thought to us, hey, this is a good business, licensing business. uh McDonald did it, KFC did it, so why not for esports, right, or video games? And I think that's the rest. The second year onwards, we were focusing on just building more kitamens without us having an actual kitamen. So I think that was spearheading the brand as a soul, in order to keep them alive, right? Like old men say that we die, the soul lives on, right? The spirit carries on, but our bodies gone into the grave of being burned or whatever lah.
Well, there you go. I mean, KITAMEN, the innovator of esports franchising, the esports, the McDonald's of esports. So let's move on real quick to Mr. Kevin for this question as well. Of course, I understand that you mentioned as well. Of course, every business has challenges. What about for Wulf Esports? What were some of the challenges that you guys had to face, especially like those annoying ones?
I mean, our I guess when we go back to our first few years of esports, that was probably the most challenging time. 2017, 2018. Back then, we started with, again, similar like Hazman, started with no funds. It was only what we have between the couple of the partners, and our game plan was not to overly spend on it. So with that, few of the main mission we started was, number one, staying lean. Number two, staying relevant. So we started off with these two main motto in line, and we grinded and we pushed on with it. It was definitely not easy, I would say. Most of the businesses, or like say esports organization or esports companies in esports that want to get involved in esports, they will normally they will get self-destruct within the first 2 years if you don't do it correctly. So I guess after that, I would tell everyone out there, if you want to get yourself involved within esports, develop a esports organization, run a team, or whichever sector within esports, take it like a business from the get-go. With that, I guess most of the time you won't be wrong. So where we struggled the first 2 years trying to stay relevant, trying to put our brand out there. We also picked up a lot of ground skills, and because the nature that we, like me and my partners, we came from an industry that is not gaming, but though we ourselves have experience within the space or whatnot, but we wanted to know more. So knowledge such as like broadcasting, live streaming, that was something fairly new to us where we needed to understand it more. So with that, we started picking up a lot of random jobs as well. So though we started as a apparel company, but what we're doing in our first 2 years was almost everything besides doing apparel. So apparel, of course, it was not really getting heavy traction back then. We were just not even doing any sales back in 2017. It was more of a PR and marketing properties and branding awareness campaigns. But after that, we realized that we actually need to generate revenue to keep this thing going. So besides having to raise funds, which personally, we don't really believe in raising fund without having something sustainable or something able to provide to so-called investors. So with that, we needed to build our fundamentals first. So that being said, we realized that we need to make money, and from that, we also realized that we need to upskill our own selves, like the back end. And then we started to reach out and do a lot of back end jobs, production, tournament organization, running campaigns, building campaigns. And that, I guess, it's the most important part about running a business. In fact, like you want to be able to know what you guys can do, what you guys can offer in terms of service and products, and it needs to start at the top all the way down. You know, you cannot just expect to like, hey, we'll just hire people to take care of that particular sector rather than just looking on it yourself. But I guess reaching where we are right now, hurdle of us, it is still the biggest, I guess the biggest key here would be staying relevant. So after the first few years of struggling and, you know, passing the whole barrier of being in the scene and industry, I think the next phase is also about staying relevant. So it's easy to get there. It's very hard to stay there. So it's also very prominent for esports because things are changing. As time goes by, the industry is also changing as we go. So we cannot for sure say what's relevant today will be relevant, say, next 2-3 years down the road. So for that, recap back, we always, number one, you know, you need to stay relevant. You need to be able to learn how to stay lean, and you know, and put some grit into it. So in the end, I don't things will definitely come to fruition. But all in all, esports is a business where everyone should take it seriously from the get-go and not look at it as just as a pure hobby. And if you look into this from the start, you will definitely reach a better result compared to the rest that look at it as a hobby. So yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The hurdles that Wulf Esport has faced. So, before we move on, unfortunately, the session, the panel is taking up a lot of time. We're almost out of time for this session, so I will have to direct this question directly to Mr. Hazman, and as well as Mr. Kevin. So, for this question, every brand, every company, um, branding is always important. Anyone can start off a company. It's just that how you reach out to your customers or to your fans, getting your brand out there. So, just want to have a little insight on the past strategies that you guys have pulled off. I mean, for especially for KITAMEN, right? We know that last time you guys had to eventually close for a while and then only be revamped up. So let's start with Mr. Hazman here. What was the strategy, the branding strategy that you guys pulled off last time?
Okay, I think going back to the first year, luckily, I remember Kevin said, luck is important as well, because I managed to
Yes,
learn
yes, it
something
is
about
definitely.
branding just before I started KITAMEN, right? Because people always confused between branding or marketing, right? Marketing is just to get your product out there and people know your products, right? But branding is about getting people attached to whatever you're doing. As when you say Apple, right? So people know it's all about all these high tech gadgets. This is about lifestyle. But back to KITAMEN branding direction. It's just about making sure that it's all about people, it's about people actually, to have fun. That's all. So what we did was, I think during those days, it was all Facebook groups. Like, you just, I think I remember that every single day, without stopping for the first 6 months, it's just about, spamming all the Facebook group. It doesn't matter if people saw it, but I know that, you know consistency is the key to, to branding. Is about pushing it every single day. It's not about pushing that, hey, Kitaman is doing this, but I've just pushed the brand Kitaman is this, Kitaman is that. That's all. And yeah, what caught the attention of, we had two different separate market segment. One is the customers, the other one is the so-called, people that actually want to be part of the, video game or esports business, right? So what we attracted was two markets. One is the customers that, come to our places to play games, and the other one is those who are actually trying to figure out, what they're going to do with, in the future, want to have a side business. Well, eventually that really works. That's why, when the physical, this vessel is gone, but the soul is there, people still remember the brands. And yeah, I had someone came to us knocking on our doors to say, hey, can you just show us how to, build up another Kitaman? So I think, yeah, I think that, by having learning that, it's all about branding, because they came to us not as a customer, but they came to us that, they feel attached to the brand. The brand brings happiness to the people, because that is aligned with our vision. Because I also want to recap what Kevin said. It's all about having the clarity, and the thing that what you want to do, right? Having focus. If you want to go into this kind of industry, you have to just do it all the way, up until today. Stay relevant is, being staying relevant is just like how video game works lah. For example, you have patches, you have FIFA 20, next 2 years going to be like FIFA 23 already, right? So it's all about to keep updated all the time. So that was how we did it. First year it's all about, Kitaman physical dojo space. Second year, we are building, expanding the dojo space itself. And yeah, that's where we started to pivot, introduce our new verticals, such as going into events. When we go into events, it's all about carrying the Kitaman, to to share our happiness with people via events and everything. So I think, well, I guess every single year you have to stay relevant. You have to keep thinking of new ideas, just how to stay relevant. And yeah, so I guess that was how, I'm lucky to have a branding guru, like, just to, just for your information. Well, I guess that answers your questions, Haris.
Yes, yes, it is. So basically, just to have a very quick recap, it was basically more of a penetration, a very, very tough penetration strategy, whereby you share a lot of info everywhere about Kitaman, and that
Yeah.
in return created value branding. People actually feel connected to the brand, which is
Yeah.
smart, because value sells longer. So moving on, let's go for a quick take from Mr. Kevin. What about you? What say you about branding strategies on your early days?
um, I'm always a strong believer of branding. My previous industry that I'm involved with, I came from, it's all about the similar branding a lifestyle, putting a lifestyle along with the ecosystem that we want to introduce to the general public. Um, but like what Hasman mentioned, it is like it's always about that. I've always been telling people about how to endure the test of time. It's about staying relevant, and to find out the key about how to be relevant. That's always the trickiest part. But for us, I guess it's like any other company. The first 2 years when we were off in the space, it was always trying to get our brand out. And I believe if back in 2017, 2018, almost nobody knew us. Like, I'm not joking when I meant like nobody knew Gang Asia. Like, no one knew that there was a company that did this apparel. Only a very small segment of people knew the particular brand. So back then we also knew that like with esports it's saturated. Every game has their own developer, and every game has their own little ecosystem with their own little community. For that, if you want a full buy-in of every sector of all in community within esports in Malaysia, it's going to be very tricky. So for that, we pinpoint out a smaller community and ecosystem where we can penetrate from the get-go. So with that, we actually utilize PUBG. So 2017, 2018, PUBG was the new game. It was the hot game. So we capitalized on that. Uh, Back then, where the game is new, it was not too hard or too expensive to acquire or to basically sign up a team, develop an esports team to go for the leagues and to gain traction. So back then we were also cash strapping. So when we had the apparel brand, we needed a marketing arm. So when we were developing a marketing arm, we also did not want to spend additional money to actually sign in influencers or brand ambassadors back then. So what we do is we develop our own team and we sign our own team as our own brand ambassadors. But of course, when I say luck factor, this is where the luck factor hit us. My luck was being able to come across a couple of really good talents, which I'm able to develop more intricate ideas and game plans with them, which brings up to about the formulation of Yudu Gang where we have right now. So with this particular PUBG mobile team, we've gained a certain amount of success from the start. With that, I straight up pivot our marketing campaign of the particular brand to tie in with this team. So I mean that was actually our main launch plan for the whole brand, and that's what took us all the way. Now, when our brand was accepted through the marketing of Yudu Gang, it opens up our door to much more other business opportunities, more apparel opportunities with different brands, more marketing campaign with more other potential corporate brands out there in the market. So I guess that's basically how we actually make do in the first few years of our life in terms of the space of esports in Malaysia, right? And that's the key, man. I don't think there's any other better statement or better advice, but just to be able to stay very relevant. Even the time when you have low resources or your team or your if you have a team and your team is not doing such a great traction in the forefront, then it's about staying relevant, pivot them a bit, do more content creation, get involved with the community, and that will go actually a long way for people that wants to do stuff in esports.
And it
I mean,
definitely,
yeah.
definitely has gone a long way for Yudu Gang, especially being one of the biggest teams in PUBG, as seen in PMPL. Because as I said earlier to Mr. Hazman as well, I follow up very closely with PMPL, and it seems that you guys have one of the biggest fan base currently, apart from, of course, Team Secret. So yeah, and I believe that we have to wrap up this session right today. So just before we leave, right, what would be a short and sweet parting message that you guys would like to send out to all potential partners, to your customers, to your fans? So let's start with Mr. Kevin straight away. Mr. Kevin, what's some parting message that you want to share with us?
Okay, to the all Malaysians that's watching this video, to the kids below the age of 18, please stay in school, complete education, because education is key. It's very important, right? For the adults or parents like me, young parents like me, please open up your eyesight and have a bit of a foresight into this little ecosystem whereby it's definitely a good angle for every Malaysian. And for the rest of the Malaysian, please less toxic, and we all support all the Malaysian esports here, right?
Well, unfortunately, I think toxicity is something that is still a bit of a problem in the esports community anywhere around the world. But definitely, we are working towards getting a better community as well. And let's see if they want to find out more about Wulf Esports. Where can they find you, Mr. Kevin?
We are widely available all throughout social media such as Facebook, Instagram, but you can go to our website www.wulfesports.com.
There you go, guys. www.wulfesports.com. And moving on, Mr. Quak, your turn. What's the parting message that you would like to share to all the fans of Wulf Esports?
I think for everyone that wants to be influencer or they want to be someone that is big shot, like solos or the next generation of the team boss school, you can definitely find us. We actually open our arms and invite you. We want to develop you to be the next superstar in Malaysia or Southeast Asian market, as we say. And try not to be nervous when you are trying to contact all these companies for opportunities. We always want new things to happen, and people in the industry have this. I would say they have this traditional mindset of how esports works. In West Esports, we want to find out both ways and how to innovate in sports in general, so that everyone can develop together, everyone learn together, let's be a copy pasta thing. We try to develop esports industry to the international market, and I will honestly say we welcome every one of you guys. We don't want to say race. We don't do those kind of stupid stuff in esports. In esports, we are all gamers in blood, right? You want to be influencer, you want to be anything, just come to us. You want to be earning a few cents for your next date as well. You can also come to us, right? We want to help you on that, regardless of what you want. If your parents say it's not good to be involved in esports, just tell them I'm going to join Wales Esport. I'm going to have a job there, a full-time 9 to 5 job that pays me well, and definitely will prove it to your mom that says esports is definitely the better way to join and to develop yourself.
Definitely, kids. You heard it here from Mr. Quak. If your parents say esports is not a good example, a good future to invest in, just look at our panelists today themselves making a success out of esports. And moving on to our final panelist, Mr. Hazman, what would you like to share with all your fans, all the people who are connected to KITAMEN?
Well, I guess in one word that just always be reminded that esports video games are here to stay. There's not even not even the nuclear bomb is gonna stop it anyway, right? What I'm trying to say is that esports is used to stay there, and those who dreams of becoming any position or any roles in esports, keep on dreaming, don't give up, because we have Kevin, we have Quak, myself here. If we can make it, you guys can make it as well. Just don't give up, keep pushing, because in esports there's always an opportunity, not just to become a player, but there's so many angles, there's so many roles. There's just esports, we don't no what one trying to say is that esports needs you guys, right? We need esports, and everyone who are still young, you are the future of esports. Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, and yes, of course. Just now we know that for Wulf Esports, they already shared how to locate them online. What about Wales and KITAMEN? Let's start with Wales. Where can we find you if, let's say, we want to join the esports community for Wales?
So if you are interested in our company ecosystem, you can visit wheels.world. That is how simple the website is. Or you can jump to Facebook and search Wheels Buddy. We have 2 pages. One is in Chinese, which is Wheels Buddy 聚精培练, or the English and Malay mix, which is Wheels Buddy NY. You can find us, you can join our community, you can PM us if you feel like a bit boring. Our customer service are more than lovely to find you guys and have a small chit chat of esports.
There you go. And what about Mr. Hazman? How about KITAMEN? How can we communicate and connect to your team?
Okay, just go to www.kitamen, which is KITAMEN.my. So you can, from there you can visit our social media page from Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. From there, So meet you guys later soon in our social media. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hazman. There you go, guys. Our panelists for today, Mr. Kevin, Mr. Hazman, and Mr. Quak. Mr. Kevin from the CEO of Wulf Esports, Mr. Hazman, the CEO of KITAMEN, as well as Mr. Quak Xuan, the digital marketing lead for Wales Esports. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us today. And another big thank you for ESI and also KBS, the Kementerian of Belia and Sukan, for organizing Esports Integrated Conference 2021. So see you guys in the next session.
Thank you, Haris.
Thank you, Haris. Right.
First question: what would be your dream brand to partner with? Okay, this is lebih kepada pribadi lah, or personal lah. If I were given a chance to partner up with lah, I'll go for my those luxury brands lah. Talk about supercar brand lah, Ferrari, Lamborghini, one day, I think those really raise the status of esports itself, because we can see like dalam ESL, from all around the world, we know that BMW, Mercedes, I think Audi as well as Volkswagen itself, they have ventured into that. But if you ask me, what kind of dream brand, I think it's those supercar brands. Because if they were to sponsor us, or sponsor Quak or whatever, of course they're going to sponsor us one car to drive around. I think that would be great, right? Yeah. So how about you? what do you think? How about you?
To me, honestly, right, because I want to build more communities and I'm more a community person, I want something like maybe a Kia or Hyundai kind of brand that actually revolves around bringing family around, so I can
Right.
help them to promote, come in my events and say, hey, you want to build a community, you want to build anything that revolves around building family relationships, come to me, I help you promote all your stuff, dude.
So we are balanced lah. So one goes for the high end one, and you go for the family part. So it's about balancing the the yin yang stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, you take the luxury one. I like the chance for you. Then I go for the community one. For
Then we
me,
can
branding
swap.
more important right now, right?
We can swap cars later lah, right? Yeah. Right. Okay. In terms of extending the presence of esports Malaysia, what else can be done to improve the visibility of esports as a legitimate esport itself to compete amongst the likes of traditional sports? Okay, I had to read back the questions in order for me to understand it again. Okay. When we look at esports itself, as a separate entity, because people always mix up with sports and esports. Sometimes people want esports to compete with sports and stuff, but for me, it's not about competing, because every single thing that you do, especially if you look at the sports itself, right, between football, rugby, they don't compete with each other. But because what I'm trying to say is that why do we need to compete with sports, traditional sports, and to make it as a legitimate sport? I think it all goes down into the role of from community, the publisher, the developer itself, all the way until like ourselves, like the sports organization doing this, is about how can literally we when we talk about legitimate, there's so many angles. Like even the government sport is one of the things. Like if you can see that KBS and ESI is doing it, I think this is one of the things that is about reaching out to the mass market. Because I think even Quak and even Kevin himself, we've been talking about like how it's about to spread the thing about esports itself, the visibility of it, because everybody has to play a role. In my opinion, everybody has to play a role to tell parents, kids, those who don't understand it. And when you say that we want to compete against traditional sports, I think that's not the mission, or that's not the thing that we should be doing. Which eventually we're supposed to be like complementing each other. Even like those sports game, like you have football, for example, and then you have FIFA. I think it's about complementing each other. It's about bringing those market from the video game to actually like the real football. Just like how in F1, they garner around 27 million views just from esports itself for people in video games to support Formula One. I think we just need to twist the question about how can we complement esports with the sports itself. Let's be brothers lah. Yeah. Okay, Quite over to you.
I think on my side, right, how to improve the visibility to compare to all these traditional sports is content. So I'm a marketing guy. Definitely, content is my bread and butter. And people in the industry, especially for the older generations, they don't know how esports works in general. So my take on this is to make more contents behind the scenes and publish it on more official websites or social media channels to let the older generation and the newer generation to know what esports like in the front and in the back. Because nowadays people only see what's happening on the tournament. People doesn't know what's happening behind, how player react, how player actually show some insights when they are not on the stage itself. In Chinese, we have this thing called 台上5分钟, 台下10年功, meaning that you're on the stage for 5 minutes, but you take 10 years to prepare for the 5 minutes. This is always has been the truth for every industry, and people take esports very lightly because everyone just say, oh, you have talent, you can go up to the stage any single time. But that's not the case. The best players, like in Malaysia, I would say a lot of players like Kecil Imba and all those, although they play on stage, but they never actually have the chance to develop their social media backgrounds with any companies that they are working with. And which is why this is a very bad scenario for the older generation to accept sports like the traditional esports, and to also increase the visibility towards their older generation communities, or we call it auntie groups that chit chats together lah. Yeah.
What kind of resistance did you face when you were starting out in esports, and how do you overcome it? Okay, resistance. Let's talk about 5 years ago. Okay, 5 years ago is about getting it out there. I think talking about esports 5 years ago is, I can say not many out there is understand esports. You know, people always confuse esports between video games and everything. But it's always that as when you start a business or do something, regardless of anything, just not in esports, is about first thing is that we have a vision. Where do you want to put yourself, esports itself, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, right? And it's about navigating towards that direction rather than listening out to other people telling you, hey, this is not good. Because ourselves, because we believe in this. I think everybody in esports, yourself, who's watching this, believe in all this thing, right? Is that those things will come, regardless. If you were to go out there selling curry puff or selling whatever, right? I think resistance always come. And how basically we as a team overcome it is always to focus on the vision and mission of what you are trying to achieve. I think that is the key. As a business owner, as a business driven personnel, is about focus on not other people's concern, but our concern. Is about mind your own business. Talking about how did they overcome it, I think it's just focus. Just have to focus what you're doing. That's all. Okay, Quak.
So on my side, it's more on how do you want to streamline your company towards. So it's very similar for every company. Even Hazman from KITAMEN and also Kevin from Wulf or Wulf Esports, they always have streamlined ideas, but we have to come back to the root of how your company wants to grow. So let's say Wulf Esports want to grow in terms of growing influentiality. I think you can always count on us on being the hotspot to build influencers for the next generation. So let's say if you want to go to Wulf, you want to be someone that is more relevant towards the esports industry in terms of, let's say, apparel and somewhat all-in-one ecosystem, that will be Wulf's specialty. But when it comes to KITAMEN, they are focusing on more community-driven event, especially on the console side. Yeah, that would be their specialty. So every company has one main focus and one key target. So what is yours is what you believe in esports. Because when you focus on a target that is not what you believe in, I can say every startup company will fail, including US esports, because you already lost the heart to do it. Passion plays a lot of role in esports industry and esports companies. So with the passion to do something big in your mind and with something big in your dreams, especially the ones that you sleep in, that will be the company's main core value towards the current industry and how you can grow it further and beyond other companies also. Yep. Hazman, I think your mic is muted.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. I'm reading back the question. Any tips for upcoming esports team managed by young college student? Because there are always that mindset that young people cannot succeed in managing an esports team. Well, if Kevin were here, I think he could answer this. But just coming from experience and observation, this is if you can relate back to the previous question, is that mindset. Whose mindset is it? That young people cannot succeed in managing esports team. I think it's basically not our mindset. Don't think about other people's mindset. Is I think talents, skills comes from experience. The most important thing is you have to start somewhere. You don't think about like, I want to do an esports team, but someone say you cannot succeed lah. You're so young lah, muda lah, tak boleh buat lah. Then if you keep on hearing those people dengar dia orang cakap, then I think just don't do esports. Senang cerita lah. But yeah, I'm talking about the story. It's about, the most important thing is you have to start somewhere. It doesn't matter like if your age is 17, 18, because if you start at age 18, by the time you get to age 22, maybe by the time you're age 22, coming from experience and all those things that you do, you might be better than some of us. I'm 35, maybe you're at 32, you're already, like superpower already. Yeah, so I think tips, don't listen to people. Just my tip is to start early, get experience early, get connected, talk with communities, get to know people like us. We are here to, to drive the industry forward. And for me, it's about finding the pelapis lah. Like, so someday I'm gonna go old, Quak gonna go old as well lah, right? Jadi tua semua, right? And then one day, like I said in my previous speech, like you guys are the future of esports lah. Don't worry about that. It's about start je, buat saja. Okay.
So like from my side, I think my age is not shown in any live or anything. I'm actually 26. So okay, talking about myself itself, not about Versus Sport, about the company. I mean, I'm just saying that I started at the age of 19. I create Dota 2. I started esports in the Dota 2 scene, right? The Dota 2 where people go out. I only put 2 Arcanas up there as a grand prize, 2 Arcanas for the whole team. So there's no balance in actually how you manage it. Although now when you compare back to it, it's not fair, but you need to start somewhere. I think starting early is the best thing. I started since I was like 23 to actually interact with all this esports industry. In 19, I started making college tournaments. I continue doing it, continue to learn esports, continue to develop skills for it. Then on 22nd, on my 22nd year, on my 22 years old, I started to join professional esports team. I first started with a Malaysian Battlefield team, my first ever team. I started to play Overwatch as a semi-pro. Back then, as a talent itself, you can feel the pressure everyone actually giving you. You have a beef here and there, but that's just a growing. You face a lot of these blockers in your life. And like what Hazman said, literally everyone will be, I don't think I can curse, everyone will be talking bad about you very, very significantly, because the gaming community is like what Kevin said in the talk just now. It's a bit toxic, but toxicity we can always find a flower in it. Like you want to be that flower to grow, then you have to be in your own mindset. Sometimes you have to be a bit delusional on your mindset to grow yourself as a person that can be the next generation leader. Like for me, after being a talent, after being a pro player myself, I actually just started another all-female team in Overwatch in Malaysia, which is MBT Valkyrie. And then slowly the thing starts to come. It's a bit of a lot, plus also how you want to develop and how you strategize your approach to break into the market. Young people cannot succeed is the most stupidest thing I ever heard. I consider myself still quite young. I have still a lot of chances, and I really don't want to see people have this kind of mindset, especially people at my age range, right? The ones that are in 20 to 26. You want to see what college student being succeed. You have to see the passion that they put in, the time that they are willing to sacrifice when you are not playing game or when you are playing game. Yeah, take that with a bit of grain of salt.
Yeah, you see, Quak, I think when you're 26, right? I think you're more than me when I'm 26. I'm 26, I just graduated, no, nothing yet. See, this is a living. Yeah, but I think during college day, I think you have more time, right? So, try to do a lot of things, try to do something.
Yeah, during college, don't always think of going to drink, going to Zoom, or this kind of thing. Honestly, sacrifice a bit of time trying to communicate, especially if ESI actually has this conference talk offline. That will be the best for everyone, because you don't only get to speak to us directly. other than this Q&A, you also get involved in more of the BTS scene where you can try to know more people. It's all about the networking in the esports industry, you know. Yeah. Okay.
What I think needs to be prioritized and allocate the money to during the first year of an esports team. Okay, this is maybe also, Kevin can answer, but let's put it on a business perspective. Okay, prioritizing, financially, talking. Let's talk about financial, because financial education is a different thing that we also need to, get educated. Like Kevin say, belajar sekolah, learn, get more education. I think ilmu tu penting lah, right? Because I think before we start thinking about what to be prioritized, I think it's about to learn the fundamentals of the financial itself. Because those things can be taught in all these financial gurus or financial teachers. That I think those are the most important knowledge that we need to think. But let's just put it. Okay, let's see. I have an esports team, right? So number one priority is, I think everybody wants to have money to eat, to go somewhere, but when you talk about a limited amount of money, is I think the best investment for, this is my personal take, is invest money more towards knowledge. All right, managing team. Because I think knowledge is the most valuable thing. Don't invest in like super power PC, iPhone 12, whatever, because those doesn't guarantee you, winning. But if you invest in maybe how to improve your skill sets, get coaches or whatever, I think those are based on my previous experience about getting more knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the more thought process and idea you have, and the more smart decision you're gonna make in the future. I think, that's why we need to learn. That's why we go to school. We go to find mentors or whatever. If you have mentors, you can always go to Quak. I want to learn marketing. Quak. Then you can open up your marketing class, right? So because knowledge, you learn marketing, you learn financial, you learn administration, you learn operation, execution, financials, so many things, even HR. Like, because when we talk about team, it's about HR, how to manage people. Maybe you want to learn about managing people first, right? Because you're dealing with people in the end of the day. Yeah, well, I guess that's my 2 cents on which you need to prioritize on when you get your first chunk of money. All right, what over to you?
Mm-hmm. So for me, I think things have changed since I joined. When I started an esports team, it was totally free. All you have to do is you have to find the correct people and put the effort into it, right? So when you talk about allocating money, right? Personally, when it comes to money, everything gets very disgusting, right? Everyone has to be very harsh and cruel to each other, and like what Kevin mentioned back in the talk, a lot of companies tend to self-destruct when they have the esports team in their ecosystem, because esports team, honestly saying, if there's no brand value in esports team that you adopt, it's very hard for you to actually gain any sense from it. Mostly you can burn up to, I would say, I'll give you a very simple cost estimation, accommodation plus everything. You can burn up to, including salary, by the way, you can burn from 10K to 50K easily, depending on the scale that you are going. So some people like to think big and small. So for smaller people, you want to prioritize your money into player that you feel like that has potential to grow, and not equipments, not anything, but also building the relationship. So a lot of esports team nowadays, they start with one manager and players. So you become the one, when you allocate money, you have to learn, you have to be the all-in-one guy that knows every single thing. So whenever players face legal problems or any things that your team face, how to counter it, these are the things that you can actually learn from, I wouldn't say paid courses, but also YouTube themselves. These are the things and small bits that you have to learn. So for those that actually allocate a lot of budget for building a big team, let's say you want to be the RSG or EWAS in the future, you have a huge chunk of fund just to burn, then you can maybe start trying to branding try to brand your esports brand first, and not the team and not the members. You can try to chunk in cash players, like let's say if Fredo is currently open in the transaction the market, then you can try to buy it just to create a marketing value for your brand. But let's say you're on the lower tier or lower end of the budget wise, you can try to focus on building communities that affects how your players actually grow, because players need more mental support than people that are already inside the ecosystem, especially like people in the Fredo, someone like Fredo, Manpara, and all these kind of people. They already have their take and their experiences in it. But for your team, let's say if they are not fresh, or if they are not not fresh, if they are not experienced enough, they definitely need all this mental support, because it's going to be very hard for them to go through all these moments. Because I understand from a player perspective, especially and when they're young, they always want to prove something that is someone backing them up. Parents are not the sole support they want. They want the people from the community. So allocating to build that community itself will assist your team to grow at the first head start. Then you can start to market your brand and your team members. Then slowly your brand will get bigger and your players will have their own reputation. Things will go south this way, but this is how I prospect every esports team should build, because only with community and esports team can actually sustain itself.
Okay, well, that was the last question, right? Quak? Right.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
before we sign off, just to give our big appreciation to KBS, Kementerian Belia dan Sukan, and also ESI for hosting this one of something new in Malaysia. And yeah, it's sad that we cannot be together, like meeting up in one places due to the
Yeah.
pandemic. But hopefully next year, yeah, just a reminder, make sure you get your vaccines lah, so we can have like a real esports conference, like real meeting in real life. So I guess that's all from us, on behalf of Kevin. We would like to appreciate once more again to KBS and also ESI, and also Gig Events as well. As you can see, that's all from us. You can check out our social media, from Will's, KITAMEN, and also gang. All right, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Hope everyone try to go and get your vaccination. Then we can meet offline. And every esports event can be as fun as always and not online. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, guys.